Well, you can designate the website as the official city newspaper,
But it's.
but you have to charter, you have to pass a charter ordinance in order to do that.
Mr. Mayor, may I speak?
Who's,
Eric,
Yes? No?
can you speak?
yeah, for 2 minutes.
I would say, first of all, your numbers on internet penetration are wrong. Census Bureau says 65% of the people in the city of Marion have access to the internet, 35% never had access to it. The charter ordinance that you're mentioning has never been tested legally in court, and frankly, if the city does adopt this, it will be tested legally in court because we will sue the city of Marion. But there's a bigger point to this than that. Whether we're talking about the legality of this, you know, the state law says you can publish an ordinance summary on a website if you publish the ordinance in a newspaper. State law wouldn't say that you can publish something on a website if you publish it in a newspaper, unless it thought that those things were separate things. Newspapers and websites are not the same. But the most important thing, and I'll trace some history about this, is how people actually find things. And this is actually an expertise I had teaching at the University of Illinois. Part of the reason that you put it on a newspaper is that's where people go. People look there already. They find things without knowing to look for it. If you put it on the website, the only way they know to look there is to find it on the website. And if you are concerned that people aren't getting it on the web already, legal notices published by the city of Marion are published on our website. They're published on a special website set up by the Kansas Press Association. They are made available to the Kansas Historical Society on their website, so they're available in multiple different locations. If the concern is to save money, I have in my hands the billings that we have had from the city of Marion
We're
over the
gonna
past
discuss
5
that
years.
later.
And the average amount is $312 a month, which translates out to the owner of a $100,000 home is 42 cents a year.
Well, I'm sure this is strictly a discussion section right now. If we decide to take any kind of action on it, it would be at the next meeting. And if there's some issues that need to be researched by our attorney, we'll have that done. Okay? The thing about it, this would allow the city to post official publications on the website. You know, we've got a brand new website, we invested quite a bit of money into it, and our staff is now trained on, you know, doing our own posts, where in the past we had to rely on the website manager to do that for us. So that's a savings right there, because we had to pay for that. The expenditures for newspaper publications comes from the general fund, that's taxpayer dollars. We spent in 2021 $5,366.63 of those taxpayer dollars, or basically 0.533 mils. That's an expenditure we wouldn't have to have, and we could lower the mill levy by $0.5 mil. I know we've all been concerned about ad valorem tax and the mill levy. I mean, that should be probably our biggest concern. Any comments?
I just have a couple of comments. First of all, I contacted Mr. Vina and asked him, you know, about opting out of the state statute 3007. And he sent my email to Mr. Holder, who was very kind enough to send me a copy of the resolution. My question to Mr. Vina is, can you use the resolution to opt out of the state statute?
No, state statutes always govern. Home rule authority does not allow you to opt out of state statute in any sense. However, the reason I passed your email on is because I did not have the resolution that the city had already adopted, essentially taking care of that issue.
So, think the resolution takes care of opting out of the state statute?
Are you talking on 12-300?
07.
It actually says it directly in the statute. I can pull it up.
I have a copy of it if you'd like to see it.
No, that's all right. 12-3007 talks about publication and effective date, and relates to publications and summaries. Then we go down to section B. It states, in lieu of full publication of an ordinance pursuant to this section, a city may opt to publish a summary of the ordinance so long as 1, 2, 3, and 4, 1, 2, and 3 indicate how you go about doing that. The city has in fact made that option, made a resolution to that effect. But I would even go so far as to say that if we're talking about the summary, the city can do that each and every time it requests a resolution to be published in that manner. For example, if you have a resolution that is 15 pages long, instead of publishing the full resolution in a newspaper publication, you could simply opt at that time through the resolution itself to have the summary published, if the city so chose. So this statute specifically in and of itself allows for that option.
Okay, on number 3, would you read that, please?
Yeah, publication contains the city's official website address where reproduction of the original ordinance is available for a minimum of 1 week following the summary publication in the newspaper.
Does that mean that the website has to be published along with the summary?
Typically, it's included in the resolution itself when we're reviewing that.
And then my next question would be up in the part A where it says it's to be published once in the official city newspaper. Do you
Yeah.
think that we can use a resolution to get past that?
Well, I believe that what it says is section A says it shall be published once, and then you read section B, and it says in lieu of full publication. Again, what we often find when we read statutes is you have to read the whole statute to make it make sense. If you only read a section of it, you're gonna be somewhat lost in the interpretation.
Okay.
I'd like to hear from the council individually. I mean, we all know this would be a charter ordinance. It has to have 2/3 majority vote, and I'd like to know what your opinion is.
Well, my opinion is, I just think that people that talk to me that don't do computers. Now, my wife is not one of them, she's very good at it, but most of the people I talk to, no computers.
Okay.
So are you suggesting doing a summary in the paper and then do the whole thing in the website?
No, I'm talking about doing the whole thing on the website. All the ordinances, resolutions, et cetera. And like I said, you wouldn't have to access them by computer, you can come to the city office. We'll have them posted.
I would probably lean more toward a summary of some sort.
Okay. Right?
I think there's probably an argument to be made that by going onto the website, you're getting more distribution than you would be through the paper, because to look at it in the paper, you're paying for a subscription to it.
Yeah, true.
I can answer that question.
No, you can speak in the public forum if you wish. This is
Okay, I
council discussion.
was aware of a great number of other people who were allowed
You
to
can
speak.
speak at the public forum.
Well, my opinion, Dave, is that I'd rather see it published in the paper.
Okay? Alright.
So summary or the full?
Well, I'd like to have the full, because a lot of people don't understand the summary, and they don't have smartphones or computers to go in and see what.
So you go to city office.
Sure, but how many older people, Chris, would go to the city office?
Call the city office, I mean, if you see I see what you're saying, if you just, Mr. Bean has said that we would direct them where they can find the entire thing, we just put a summary in there, so then if it directs them to the city website, they can call the city if they're not comfortable on the computer and, you know, have a hard copy or.
Jerry, you attend the senior center quite often. How many people down there do you think would use a smartphone or
None.
computer, or even call the city office to
No.
get somebody, and they wouldn't understand it when somebody read it to them over the phone either. They
But how
like to
many-
see it in black and white.
How many young people in our community have a subscription to the newspaper? So then they're not seeing it at all. So I mean, if you wanna make an argument about age range, I don't think that's a great argument to make.
Well, I just think it's better to see it in black and white than it is to.
Well, then we're talking about increasing our costs that we have currently. You know, I think we need to be looking at what our taxpayer dollars are going for. For example, every year, we have to pass an ordinance adopting the traffic laws. You ever read that? I don't read it. Any of you guys read it? No?
I have to say, I do read what's published in the legal ID Hillsborough, what they publish.
But I bet if you would check with your constituents, they'll tell you, they've never read that.
You know, it may be true,
Mhm.
you know.
Well, right now, I think that we should all talk to our constituents and see what they say. And if we need to address it again, we'll address it again. But I bring it up because we've got a website now that we spent, how much, Roger, 13,000?
Well, I think it was 10 cents.
10,000? I mean, we've got that availability. And if you wanna stick with these summary judgments, we still can put those on the website. And we've already voted to do that. This minute. So let's just go ahead and move forward. But I would like for you guys to check with your people and see what they think. Counselor reports, anybody have anything they wanna bring up?
I'm just curious, Roger, how's the contract on the, Roosevelt building coming along? Have we finalized that yet?
No, they've completed their environmental inspections on the building. They completed their mechanical inspections. We're gonna look tomorrow. Margo, they did complete that, right? And now it's just down to, the title work, and then we should be proceeding to that project.
Thank you.
I have a question for you. What's happening with our restaurant building on the street? Is anything happening there? I'm sorry, Jerry. Well, with I don't remember the name of it, the big building that they wanna have a barbecue there. Oh.
Bill and Essie?
Yeah, the bid opening is this Thursday. If you'll remember, they did a bid opening in December, and all of the bids were beyond the engineer's estimate. It was all put out, for rebid. And we did have another, construction company make contact with the city that did not bid the first time. And they were put in contact with who could get them into the building to look at it, so they could do their bid. This Thursday at 4 o'clock, there's another bid opening on that project.
Anything else? Clinton, do you have anything?
I have nothing.
Okay, Margot? Brian? Anything to bring up? Tiffany? Roger?
I just wanted to update council, we continue to look at the bond refinancing option with industrial park, access road development and infrastructure. The Kansas Department of Commerce has put out what they're calling a base grant, which will be a 75-25% grant. We've participated in their webinar, I've spoken with our engineer, and I've got an appointment scheduled to talk to our financial ransom. It appears that we can apply for a grant to help us 75-25 on the development of the rest of Moulton Street Industrial Spur, extending the water and sewer to all of those lots to make them all readily marketable.
has to be submitted by the 28th. I'm currently working on putting that application together to submit
Okay.
pretty soon.
Thank you.
Okay. Nothing further with that, public forum, anyone wish to speak to the council? Go ahead.
Since you asked me to wait until this time, I can answer Councilman Collett's question. We operate 3 websites. They are the number 1, 2, and either 3 or 4, depending on which rating service you go. Most read websites in the country, in the county. The city's website is way down on that list. And access to legal notices on our website is free. It's up for a week, so it accomplishes that already. I would also like to add that you talked about the uniform traffic code. It cost the city of Marion $39 to publish the legal notice of uniform traffic code this year, which is not exactly a massive expenditure considering what we're talking about. We're talking about spending $10,000 for an out-of-town business to set up a website and then deny us a lesser amount as a local business to go with a scheme that has not been tested in court. And according to our lawyers, we will win on this. Plus, we will fight it also with contesting the charter ordinance, because it would only take 30 signatures to require an election. The cost of the election would wipe out whatever you're talking about in savings, and it might very well pass that the charter ordinance would be overruled. We don't want to get into that kind of stuff, but the important thing is that we want people to be able to find these notices just going about their everyday business. They do that through the newspaper. We are an unusual newspaper. I spent the summer as a Scripps Howard Foundation visiting professor of social media at the university, at the Dallas Morning News. We, as a community newspaper, have a very different profile in terms of how people access us online and in print. They spend an average of 10 minutes looking at our website. The average website is 45 seconds. One of the things that we offer is this sort of serendipitous discovery that people can run across things that they didn't know they were looking for. That's important with legal notices. It's also important to have sort of this fixed in a tangible medium. We have heard from former officials of city governments in this county that they were instructed by staff to alter publications that had been approved by the council without the council's permission and put them in their records. Putting it in a fixed medium, printing it so that you've got your hands on it, that's controlled by a third party, is a security measure. We also have never been hacked. Your website has, and it will be at some point in the future. Every website is hacked. You can't hack paper. We're safe on that regard.
I
We
don't
also
think the
reach
website was hacked, I think it was their email, wasn't it?
That's correct.
Well, your website was before that as well.
No, it was email, it wasn't website.
No, the
As
past,
a different service provider, he's going back in history.
Yeah,
it can be hacked. That's another area that I know something about. I would just say that the value of having fixed and tangible, also having an independent person. About a month ago, we had a legal notice that got pulled out of the paper because there were errors in it that we noticed. If it had been left to the staff here to post it on their own, those errors would never have been noticed. In answer to what Councilman Herbal was talking about, the question is not whether the state statute allows summaries, and you already voted to allow summaries. You voted to allow it by resolution. Problem is within city code, which is approved by ordinance and amended only by ordinance, that requirement does not give you that authority to pass the summaries. We've known that since you've been writing summaries for about 3 years and never managed to complain to it. But you really, if you want to clean it up, probably should make that resolution an ordinance so that it would be part of city code. But right now, your city code says no ordinance shall take effect until it has been published. And that probably needs to be amended and would require more than a resolution.
we'll
That's
follow
just
the lead of our
executive.
city attorney.
That's just executive.
Yeah, we'll follow the lead of our city attorney. Okay, we need to have an executive session for 20 minutes. We're going to executive session at 6:20 and we'll return at 6:40.
Mr. Mayfield, can I speak really quick?
Oh, okay. Come on up. I'm sorry.
It's okay. I just have a question, and like, obviously my family owns businesses, but for other businesses too, like, if they are to be on the agenda, how are they told that their business or person is going to be spoke about during an open meeting. Like Josie was on the agenda 3 meetings ago, and we had no idea.
And tonight I wasn't, I mean, I'm on the agenda, I didn't even stand up and speak, but I wasn't. It was
Her business is
through
being discussed.
the grapevine that I was informed that I would be questioned, or things would be questioned again tonight.
Likewise, we were not informed that the newspaper was gonna be discussed tonight.
On the agenda for the website, right?
Yeah, the agenda's on the website.
Okay, I just didn't know if a business is supposed to check it every 2 weeks to see, or maybe it'd be easier, like, I was at home with COVID, Josie was in Dallas, and the first article went out in the paper, and people are sending me pictures of it, and we're like, holy cow, that sounds really bad, and we had no idea that it was even going to be discussed, and then it's shared on public forums, it was shared on Marion's crime page, like, thank goodness Josie had a lot of people defending her, because if someone thought she was doing all this illegal stuff, then that could have taken business away from her, where if, as soon as it was put on the agenda by a council member, somebody was to call the business owner and say, hey, this is going to be discussed, and these are what they wanna talk about, I feel like it could maybe save a business from a lot of public scrutiny.
Okay.
It's just a suggestion, but, I mean, you can even take like the article after last, the meeting 2 weeks ago where it said Josie's business passed the first test. Well, was tonight the second test, and if it was, how did the paper know before the business owner knew that there would be another test? I mean, I guess I'm just confused on like, it kind of felt like Josie got completely thrown under the bus and had no idea it was even happening until it was broadcasted on newspapers and Facebook and everywhere else.
Yeah, I didn't know it was gonna be brought up. The night you're talking about,
Yeah, I mean, it just, I think as just respect to business owners, and not just because my sister owns a business, but everyone, if everyone knew and had time to prepare for what council is talking about, they could better defend themselves and clarify issues that maybe were not clarified to begin with, then, you know, if that makes any sense at all.
yeah, the one meeting you're talking about, I don't think any of us had any idea that was gonna be brought up.
Right.
I just have to say this, in a roundabout way, I let Josie know that she was being discussed tonight. I told Dennis.
Yeah, I knew that, but, I mean, like I said, the meeting, 3 meetings ago, where this all started from, I mean, it made Josie out to look like everything she was doing was illegal, that she was committing crimes, and, I mean, I feel like it just, like, the city just completely threw a business under the bus, and I'm not saying that as disrespect or anything like that, it just, I think it'd be nice, I'm not a business owner, my family's entrepreneurs, there's lots of businesses in the town, and they kind of just, I would just think if a business is gonna be discussed, why not have the courtesy to let them know so that the business could prepare
And my door's always
for the
open.
discussion, and then it's not put in the paper as all this confusion, and then the owner wasn't, I mean, it was stated in the paper, the owner wasn't even present. Well, she wasn't here because she didn't know. She didn't know.
Well, again, I had no idea it was gonna be discussed that night. It was brought up by a counselor, and it wasn't on the agenda, and I don't think anybody else knew that there was gonna be any kind of discussion on it.
Sure.
So,
And as far as making the business look bad, I don't know that none of us made any of the comments that were in the paper. The paper
I think that was the paper that.
wrote the article.
Well, I mean, either way, Josie could have been, like, the business owner could have been here to clarify maybe questions that were asked that caused confusion, and that may have not have made a paper article as bad. If I'm making any sense at all.
well, we can't control the paper.
Well, right, but I something in the business, maybe if a council member knows, then maybe it should be put on the agenda so the owner should know and prepare for what their questions may be.
I mean, yeah, if we're gonna have something that affects the business, I don't see a problem with letting them, if it's gonna be on the agenda. I can't control what somebody's gonna bring up in a meeting, out of the blue,
Right,
that's not on the agenda.
right.
But it's good suggestion, if business or whatever, doesn't matter.
Right.
If it's on the agenda, I don't see any problem with giving them a heads up.
Sure.
Probably a good idea.
Thank you.
Mhm. Okay, we need to have an executive session, for 20 minutes. We'll go into executive session at 6:25, and we will reconvene, 6:45. This will include myself, city councilor, city attorney, and city administrator.
Mr. Mayor, if you would, please, the executive session is for attorney-client privilege related to pending litigation that the city needs to discuss.
All right. Attorney-client privilege.
6:26.
6:25.
Yes, I have.
Oh, that don't give me time to go.
Oh,
We can make a motion.
Yeah.
yeah, I made that motion.
I second.
Second, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. It's carried 5-0.